induced or to be have a C-section, it's almost impossible for a woman to give birth after 42 weeks if she is giving birth in a hospital. Whereas our midwife, our private midwife, often lets women. Well, she doesn't let women. She lets women make their own choices about their body, and she will support whatever birth option you want. And if you want to go, sometimes even up to 34 weeks, she's given. 44 weeks. But often after 43 weeks, we know a couple of women who have birthed with her who are 43 in 4 days.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, that was.
You don't hear about it because they stop it from happening, I guess.
You don't hear it, but it's such an.
I do think they scare in the system. They do scare women with the weight of the baby and the size of the baby. It's like, it's going to be too big. But actually, our midwife told me that her biggest baby was like 5 kilo plus. I was like, what? Because I saw on the she has a screen she had on the wall written, the babies and the weight, and I remember seeing like something like 4 kilo 8 or 5, and I was like, wow, that's a lot. She was like, oh no, that's not the biggest. It's not the biggest we are. And I was like absolutely amazed. But that's because she was able to do it. That means like our body can do it, right? But we're just being taught so much. Your baby, oh my God, it's 3 kilo 5, and they don't even know really.
Yeah,
they don't. I've got my baby was completely wrongly. They thought that it was much bigger than it was because it had so much water that they just couldn't. They thought it would be more 4 kilo 2, and at the end of the day it was 3 kilo 8. So that's quite a big difference. Yeah. So they don't know really.
And I'm wondering why do they prevent women from going overdue with quotation marks? What is the risk there? Because
it is just because it becomes higher risk. Yeah. So a lot of people are told that the placenta is going to give out all of a sudden. Like you're going to hit the magical number that they've chosen for you, which is 42 weeks. And then all of a sudden your placenta is going to immediately stop working, which is, of course, rubbish. And you can see this when babies are born, the placenta still looks beautiful.
I think also they can, this is what, sorry, I forgot I was going to say something and I just went off. That's pregnancy brain. It's kind of hit me hard lately. I'm like, I don't know about France so much, but my brother is actually, she's due anytime soon now. She's more overdue actually. She's 41 weeks and still nothing's up. I mean, they haven't gone into induction or anything like that yet, so that's good. And they're very mainstream, so they would do anything that they've been told to do. But I completely forgot what I wanted to say.
Something about the risks being overdue and the placenta being healthy.
Yes.
Yes. Is that triggering anything?
That was something about that. But no. Maybe I'll give you back and I come back with it. Sorry.
Or to expand the thought so that maybe it comes back was even so. Let's just say that your due date is based on your estimated due date is based on the day that you fell pregnant. That was your point.
There you go.
It can be completely wrong. So even if you are a woman who is fairly confident about when you ovulate, let's say, for example, that you ovulate on the same day every month. An egg lasts for 3 days before, during which it can be fertilized. So you've already got a 3-day window of variation. If you ovulate 1 day before and fertilize on exactly that day, and you compare that to ovulating 1 day after, and you got fertilized on the very last day that egg was livable, that's already 5 days difference, which is almost a complete week. Yep. So if you're going to go by that, not everyone is that predictable either. Like if you're a couple of days out, you can easily be a week and a half on either side, different to what the rules say. Yep. So basing your child's birth based on numbers is a little bit ridiculous. we should be basing it based on our bodies and on our babies. They know a lot better than any doctor with a machine that's taking a 2-dimensional image.
That's true.
About what our bodies and babies need.
So the image or the picture that we're trying to get is a lot more holistic than the tools we've got to try and.
Yeah, I think the only way to know exactly, I mean, more or less, have an accurate due date is if you had like infertility treatment. Then they know. Yeah. They know exactly, you know, when the embryo was implanted, or at least exactly when you ovulated, and depending the treatment. So, yeah, that's the only reason. But I know, some people have no clue exactly. Some people don't even really know when was their last period, you know, to the day. They're like, oh, yeah, maybe that was dead. I'm not sure if you didn't expect a pregnancy or what. So then that makes a huge difference. Like, it could be a couple of weeks difference at the end of the day if you didn't know really when was your last period and when you ovulated at all. So, that would be huge, right? Like, you think you're 42 weeks, but actually you're just 40. And, so,
And the cycle length can vary as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 10 days or so.
And we know that the risk to babies is worse if they're preterm rather than postterm. So if you were going to take the risk, which one would you choose, to induce and actually have a baby being born early, or would you leave it to wait? But women aren't given that option.
I guess, and they do get checked. I mean, you get checked if you pass your due date. People get checked. You know, babies are being checked, and you do get some. And I guess if you're in the medicalized system, you get ultrasound and things like that. So it's not that it's left to the chance, right? So what's the risk? I would personally prefer do that, as long as maybe it's checked, you know, I'm sure everything is good, and then inducing or things like that for no reason, for no good reason.
I have this I don't know what you call it, a philosophy or a belief, I guess, that our bodies have intelligence to it. And I mean, I didn't have this belief when I had my daughter and she was induced because I was deemed overdue. But yeah, definitely agree that, you know, your body has an intelligence and it knows what it's doing, and your baby knows what it's doing, and we really have no idea on the outside. We're just guessing.
Absolutely.
Do we want to talk a little bit more about the statistics in Australia in terms of home birth?
Yeah, sure. So, we can compare this, because we've got our very own Netherlands birthing mother here. So, in Australia, we have a home birth rate of 0.3%, which is obviously really ridiculous. And in fact, it's more common to birth outside of the home or a birthing most of them. So it's 0.4% of people birth outside of a typical birthing location. Yeah. So some women do choose to birth in a river or to birth in the desert or outside in nature, but it's incredibly rare. Yeah. Most of the women who are birthing in this statistic are on their way to the hospital. Yeah. So they have left it too late, or they're coming back from hospital because they were turned away because they were told that they're not at that magic number to be entered. So I think that we really need to consider which one of this is more high risk for a woman who is planning to home birth and probably has a midwife and has everything that she needs there and is mentally prepared, compared to a woman who thinks that home birth is probably unsafe and has all of a sudden started panicking because baby's coming. Yeah. Which one of those is going to be more risky for the baby to be born in?
Talking about that, actually, you know, the Netherlands, when you're pregnant and you register your pregnancy, like, you know, you get into the system, like you're pregnant, your insurance sends you a box at home with everything, with everything you need for home birth. That's how common it is. Like, you basically, for home birth and for postpartum, which is a bit weird because you get quite a lot of pads. That's a bit scary. You open that box, you're newly pregnant, super happy, you know, excited, and then you see all the tools for the birth, and you see those like, I know I didn't have that many, but I have friends that receive, depending on the insurance, you receive different things in your box, but they receive like, I don't know, like dozen and dozen of like postpartum pads. It's really glamorous, you know. And they were like, oh, that's nice. But that's just to say, like, they have everything, you know, like thermometer, things like that that could be used for the midwife, but also for you in case you end up free birthing by accident, you know, like, because nobody had time to come in time or whatever. Because also, people in Amsterdam, they cycle and sometimes you don't get there in time. So that's
such a great system.
Yeah, it's really different.
Yeah. But yeah, so if we're comparing it with the Netherlands in terms of the statistics, so because obviously the reason why, and I mean that was the reason my mother gave me, is to not give birth, is because a baby might die, right? That's what we're all afraid of, as if that's the only outcome that we care about. But in Australia, so we've got the stats here. Our neonatal death, which is death in the first month after birth, per 1,000 births is 2. In the Netherlands, it's 3, so that's basically identical. You know, you wouldn't say that Netherlands is higher risk. Maternal mortality, so that means if you were to die during childbirth, per 100,000 births in Australia, it's 6. In the Netherlands, it's 7. So again, we're right on par.
US, it's 14. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, in the US, it's 14 women. So the US is just absolutely incredible. And in terms of the number of babies that die, it's 4. So it's twice as risky as us. And twice as risky, more than twice as risky for the mother.
It's a similar system, right?
Oh, it's much worse than us. Yeah.
Well, but it's amazing looking at these statistics. I didn't realize how good our numbers in Australia were.
In terms of death.
Especially compared to the US.
But if you compare, so Australia and the Netherlands are basically identical in terms of the risk of death. But our home birth rate is 0.3 and theirs is 20%.
Yeah.
So they're 40 times more likely to give birth at home than we are. But our death rates are the same.
Yep.
So if we're looking at it beyond the death rates, though, if we start thinking the Netherlands regularly win, the tallest people, white people in the world, and their children have been one of the international as being the healthiest and happiest children. So they are doing something beyond just looking at the death rates. That's not the only outcome that you want from birth. You want to have healthy, happy children. They have better breastfeeding rates. And so if you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, instead of just, is the child or the mother going to die? You start having to, caring more about, home birth is not just about birth and death, it's about health for the rest of your life.
That's so true. And setting your kid up with a nice foundation as well.
Yeah. Talking about breastfeeding in Netherlands, I mean Amsterdam, just next to where I used to live, 5 minutes walk, there was this cafe called the Bosom Friend, which means what it means. You get it? So, and that was really what it was. It's like a cafe / shop, all dedicated to, and a / workshop as well. They had classes, all dedicated to pregnancy and the first year of life, and all about breastfeeding. So you can go into that cafe with your newborn. You have like a breastfeeding pillow. You have everything provided for you, and it's just absolutely amazing. You meet other moms. So the breastfeeding also is very much promoted. I don't know. I mean, everybody I know, and I think that in the expat group, which is also it's expat, so it's not even people, it's just people that just recently moved there for the most, and just got into the local culture, and they just got into the local system, and they were basically they were attracted by the home birth and all the local way, and I think of all the moms I knew, it was maybe 1 or 2 and out of 40 maybe something like that didn't breastfeed. Everybody else was breastfeeding at least the first, I think really the first 4 months. I think it was more 6 months, and extended breastfeeding was quite common, and it's quite common. At least the first year, I'd say. Yeah, that's really the minimum.
Wow.
Over there.
Amazing. Yeah. Whereas here at 8 months, I got so many stares from people that I was breastfeeding, because surely by 8 months you should be starting to wean. Don't breastfeed in public at 8 months. Let alone 3 years.
I'm just thinking how interesting is that my perspective of this has changed so much, because when I first gave birth, I was like, 12 months would be